Here you have another one of those micro beds, or those micro benches. I love those micro benches. Like I said, they're almost unkillable. It gets a little wider over here, 170-foot wide bench there. This is going to be one of those ones where a buck might get up out of his bed. There's probably an oak flat in here. We're actually going to check this. This might be a location that they go to and feed before they work their way up here. So what you want to do is come in this bottom. You got a creek here. Come up this draw, J-hook into here, and you're within 100 yards potentially of a buck bedding on this point. Great opportunity to kill a slob. Once it gets more to pre-rut, this is kind of a micro one, but I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of thermal hubs. They're basically locations that are just giant drainages. If these bucks are bedding on this point and they work out these flats, these benches, they can work their way up into this point here and smell everything all up here, especially for an evening hunt like Wayne had mentioned. Pulling down into here, it's all coming right in here. You're looking at a stand location with a northwest wind, probably somewhere over here, as close as you can get to that center without your wind being in there. Northeast wind, it's going to be over here. These are super, super hot pre-rut, especially if you got any kind of deer density. They're buck magnets. We're going to switch over to Google Earth here real quick. This is one of the crappy things about Onyx. I really, really like Onyx, but they almost need to be paired together.
It's coming.
It is coming. So here's that feed bench that I'd mentioned. If you go and download Google Earth Pro onto your desktop, they have the history feature, and it doesn't work for everywhere, but in most places, they'll have some type of aerial for a fall. Like there, it doesn't even matter because it's so shitty. Like here, we're looking at October. You can see leaves starting to change already down here. All right, these are all going to be maple leaves. They're going to be the first to change. Gums, they're going to be changing. Your oaks are the last to change. So if you have like a November history, if you slide this toggle and you can get to like a November and you can see where they're still green, that's an oak flat. And if you got something like that close to bedding, pin it, and that's what you want to hunt as close to bedding as possible. This one probably doesn't have good enough imagery. All theirs are too late. But depending on where your location is, that's something that's a great asset. I think we were talking about that, Brent, the other day when we did this. That's the history tool that I mentioned. It's up at the top there.
Yeah, I didn't have the Google Earth Pro downloaded. I only had, I was using the browser version. That's why I couldn't find it.
Gotcha. Yep, that makes sense then. Here is another feature I wanted to mention. Again, this is one of those thermal hubs. Let's say you have a 15-mile-per-hour wind. You're going to, that's high enough that you're going to be able to get scent coming down into this thermal hub from all the way up here. You're going to be able to smell does bedded up on this ridge knob. The problem is when you go to hunt these locations, it literally just looks like a tornado. Like you drop milkweed or your wind floater, it's just going everywhere. These are crapshoots as far as getting winded, but they're worth taking the risk. I really only hunt them pre-rut, October 25th to maybe like the 3rd of November, and then I'm done with them. Especially if you got a really good buck in the area, you don't want to risk making him nocturnal or potentially just blowing him out completely. The other cool thing about this one that I really like is you go over here, here's the boundary for the public land. Food plot, probably a farm, probably hunters. Most people in West Virginia are hunters. This is going to be a staging area. A buck might come down here, feed all evening, wait for dark, and then come hit these fields. You kind of have to make your own decision as far as how aggressive you want to be hitting these thermal hubs, but they can be super, super hot. And then here's another one. These, like I was talking to Brent about this, in West Virginia especially, they have really, really big thermal hubs because it's so fingery and so knobby that you can spend probably 5 days hunting this thermal hub, just picking a location and then working your way up. That's something to consider. And then we talked earlier about habitat diversity and deer being animals of edge. Here's going to be your travel pattern. More than likely, you have a bed here, potential bed here, bed here. They're going to J-hook down into this thermal hub, work through the thermal hub, check for hot does, and then come up this edge, and then basically rut